Wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, you see.
Hey, Queen. Hey, Queen. Hey, Queen. Sister.
Girl, you've done it again. You are constantly raising the bar for all of us and doing so flawlessly.
You do know that you're that girl, right?
I hope that when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror, you see how divine you are.
Know that so many people want what you got. You have dreams to fulfill and promises to yourself that you must keep.
I know at times you feel underappreciated and misvalued. Trust me, we've all been there.
So it's necessary that you can count on yourself.
Now, don't go seeking perfection.
Extend yourself a little grace.
Don't be afraid to celebrate the little wins as much as the big ones.
You, Miss Thane, are courageous. You are dynamic. You are principled.
So baby girl, just remember, respect is a minimum. There's a sweet justice in knowing that the path you are on was designed for you and you alone.
Doing right by yourself never goes out of style.
Everything about you is majestic and a force to be reckoned with.
Trust me, people are paying attention.
You're special and worthy of praise. Don't shy away from it.
And you don't have to get your groove back because guess what? You never lost it.
It's also important to rest. Make sure your hustle doesn't get in the way of your health. Girl, take care of yourself.
The next time you want to second guess yourself, don't do it.
So pause for a second right now and relax, release.
You are needed, you are appreciated.
Girl, you make me so proud. And I love you.
Remember,
You are 100% that you.
oh yes.
Oops. Oh, I stopped sharing. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Wind Down Wednesday.
Hello. Welcome, ladies.
Sim, it's all yours.
All right. Welcome again, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Maya Angelou, the eloquent. Welcome, ladies. I am your co-host for the evening, Simone, and it is a pleasure to see you wonderful, lovely, beautiful ladies with us tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for all being here. Oh goodness, everyone looked just so amazing as always.
As always, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Right? We rise and we are flawless,
Yeah.
powerful. We honor us as women who continue to pave the way, right? And so here we are in the wonderful Black History Month, which is never, ever long enough. But it's okay. We take it, we embrace it, and we celebrate.
That's right. That's
Welcome,
right.
ladies.
That's right.
All right, Liz, take it away.
All right. Well, Annette, I'll have you jump in and you want to kick off?
Hello, ladies. How are you? Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday again. It's lovely to see you. I am your co-host, Annette, and I am drinking tonight water. What is your choice of drink tonight? You can put it in a chat box or you can share with us.
Water.
Well, I'll go on ahead and share because my sister-in-law definitely introduced me to this peach Moscato. So I am rocking this tonight. Cheers.
Cheers. So I'm having a little Chardonnay tonight. I actually, Annette, I was thinking about having some water and I said, you know what? You know, for my ladies, hey, I'll have water tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I see, Monica, what is that you're drinking?
It is a Truly. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm on this whole low carb kick, but not really because I just ate carbs, but in my head, I think I'm doing low carb. And so these Trulies, I don't know if you guys have ever had like a hard seltzer, but they have like these lemonade versions out now, and they're only like 2 grams of carbs and 100 calories per can. So I'm drinking that in a wine glass so that I can have the wine effect.
Go, girl.
There you go. That's how we do it.
Nice.
Anybody else?
Anyone else wants to share what they're
Oh,
drinking?
I said I'm drinking water.
There
Oh,
we
you
go.
drinking what?
Another water drinker toast.
I'm a 5-year-old.
I
I
wish
can't
I
be
had
caught
gotten my
slipping.
water.
No, that's
I'm drinking water also. If I drink wine, I won't get up tomorrow for work. So
Yeah.
I'm drinking wine.
Same here, water.
All right.
For April.
lots of water drinkers. There's nothing wrong with it. So there we go.
At all.
So again, I'm just so thankful that all of you ladies have joined us tonight for this Wind Down Wednesday. This is our last event for the month of Black History Month, I should say. And in honor of the women that paved the way and continues to pave the way, those that have on pearls got the story behind it, but we wanted to wear pearls to honor us as women and those that are continuing to pave the way for the little ones. So yes, thank you all and welcome again. So let's get started with our first guest. I'm going to introduce you to Monica, Miss Monica Minton. Did I say that right?
Minton.
Minton, all right. Well, welcome and thank you for being here. And just take it away, share your story, take us on your journey.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much for having me here. It's just so great to be a part of a group of women that are all about promoting positivity and recognizing a lot of the challenges that we've been through. And through it all, we still are able to maintain ourselves and get through life and raise families and be wives and be good friends and daughters and mothers and everything. And, that's just something to be proud of in itself without even having to elaborate on the other things that we encounter in life. So about me, I'm 44 years old. I have 3 children that I birthed and then 2 bonus children. So their ages are 26 is my eldest child. And then I have an 19-year-old, an 18-year-old, and 2 12-year-olds. And that's in our blended family. I'm on my second marriage. So with my first marriage, I had my 3 children and my husband had his 2 children and we came together like a Brady Bunch and now we have a house full. So I'm thankful for that. It's been a great, I would say a great adventure as far as, moving from, first marriage into this second marriage. But, you learn a lot of things. Of course, marriage teaches you about yourself first, things that you can tolerate and things that you will allow to happen. And, it teaches you to have patience and things like that. But then moving into my second marriage, I was able to see some things differently and I'm really enjoying that. And I've been married now for 4 years. So still somewhat of a newlywed, but not quite, kind of in there already. So that's been nice. But outside of that, I am a nonprofit director. So I work for an organization that makes sure that physician assistants in the medical field have their certification requirements met. And I enjoy doing that a lot. In fact, it's one of the best companies I've worked for. And it's because of their diversity initiatives that they have. And we also have a lot of women like us in leadership. And that has been one of the challenging areas that I would say I've had in my life is, navigating corporate America as an African-American woman, which is what, that part of the story is kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, just to kind of give you some perspective of some of the things that I've been through, just trying to get through corporate America, just as a individual contributor and then working my way up into these other leadership roles, just some of the challenges that I face. And I'm sure as I share my story, you'll be able to resonate with a lot of it. Just, going into different work environments and not seeing a lot of people that look like us and talk like us and act like us. And being, having to feel like you need to fit in, but then also, not wanting to fit in and just those challenges that you have, along that path. So I'll say that I first entered what I call corporate America. It's just about any office job. So I use that term just as a general statement. But I entered corporate America in the late 90s. It was after I graduated from college. And I decided to, I graduated in IT, didn't work in IT. So I went in just because I needed to pay bills. And I was like, oh, I just need a job. So I took a job in the customer service field and absolutely loved it. So I've been doing customer service for the past 25 years, however many years that is, and I absolutely love it. But the challenges that I was having is, when you're working in customer service, you have, people that are in the office with you, but then you have, customers that are outside of the office that you're having to build relationships with. So you have like two sets of relationships that you're building internally and externally. And I noticed that, I was having to pronounce things certain ways in order to have customers understand me. And, and I think it, along the years, it became a natural voice for me. But, how I probably talked 20 years ago and how I talk now is kind of different. And you guys probably have seen memes where it says, my customer service voice is from Harvard, but, like my non-customer service voice is from wherever, somewhere else. And so I guess this voice has become like a natural voice for me, but I would say that it all came from, I would say, just having to adjust to corporate America as an African-American woman. And it's just now, since I've been doing it for so long, it's just become part of me. So when I entered corporate America and started working the office job, I would encounter, just different statements. And most of them would be from white counterparts, mostly male white counterparts, that would ask questions. And maybe their inquisitive nature was just really truly to understand, but some of it was a little bit hurtful to me. The first one that I had was, I had a white African-American male, a white male come up to me and say, I wonder why they can't be like you. And I remember as a 20-something-year-old at that time, wondering, well, who is they? Like, who are you talking about? And I just couldn't connect it. I was young. I didn't know what he was talking about. And I had never been introduced to that until I reached corporate America. And he said, well, they in the warehouse, like they don't talk like you. They don't act like you. So I don't know what it is about you versus them. Why can't they act like you? And I was a little bit taken aback because I was looking at him and thinking, well, does he think I'm a white person? Like he's looking at me, but what is the deal? And so when he said that, I looked at him and I was thinking, and I said, well, you do know I'm Black too, right? And he was like, yeah, I know, but you're different. And I was like, I don't know if I'm different. I'm still a Black person. I said, so what is it that you're trying to convey? So then I found myself being this liaison, this mediator or something, just to help them relate, because the warehouse employees were having a hard time with the white salesman. So that was, an issue there. So I felt like I needed to be in the middle just to diffuse the situation, because it was creating a lot of situations, but it was an uncomfortable place to be. And I didn't want to be the middle person, like I was separating myself from, other African-American employees, but I found it a good place for me to be in, because they were able to come to me and vent out some of their frustrations. And then I was in turn able to go to them and say, hey, you really need to watch how you're talking to them and you need to be respectful and things like that. So I ended up earning a place in that particular dynamic in corporate America. And I think one of the second challenges that I had was when I started, I did a big chop. So you can see that I have locks in my hair. So a lot of African-American women, when they transition to locks, they do a big chop and you just cut everything off and then you just start afresh and you just say, hey, gonna grow out these locks. And what made me do that, I was so in love with Lauryn Hill back in the day, still am. But when I saw her locks, I was like, oh my God, I gotta have them. And back then, when I started doing this, the faux locks were not a thing. Like you couldn't find those. So like you had to chop it off and just like go straight for it. And so I had this little tiny boy haircut. And I remember this was a white woman. She said, why did you cut your hair off? And I said, well, because I kind of wanted to. So, is it bothering you? She said, no, but it was fine the way it was. And I said, well, not really. I wanted it, this way. And so I started my journey, and you go through that rough phase. So if anyone has ever done that, like, it's a rough phase that you go through where they're like, you're twisting them and they're like this short. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I remember being in the mirror one day going, oh my gosh, this is going to freak the white people out. They're just going to lose their mind. And I was just in the mirror, just messing with it. And I had a mirror up and I'm looking at the back of it. And I'm like, it's just sticking up and going everywhere. It's just a mess. And that's how I was thinking. But, of course, my thoughts on that was, not out of self-love, obviously, but just out of being in a position where we weren't always accepted, and you didn't have laws and things at that time that protected you. And, people could discriminate against you. And, I had a family to support and children to take care of, and, just not wanting to be in any type of conflicting situation that would not allow me to do those things. So that's where that was coming from. And there was that internal fear of that, and feeling less than and not worthy and not enough to be able to do things as a free spirit that I am, do things that would genuinely make me happy and, help me progress as a woman in America. So as I was growing my locks out, so I had a white woman that came to me and she said, do you ever wash your hair? Like, if you're putting locks in your hair, is your hair dirty? I mean, I heard that you guys don't wash your hair when you do that. And she decided to do this in front of a room, in a room full of white people. And so I'm there, like, on the spot, like, what? And she's like, no, your hair, like, are you washing it? Is it dirty? What's going on with it? And I said, oh, so you want to have a conversation about African-American women and how they lock their hair and how they maintain it. Is that what we're doing today? So, I'm like, okay, so if we're going to put on a show, let's put on a show. And so then I go down the road of saying, okay, what I do, I wash my hair just as you do. And when I wash it, I twist it and I do everything and it is clean. And so then she goes, well, can I touch it? I'm sure y'all probably haven't heard this before. She's like, can I touch your hair? I'm like, no, you cannot. I said, and she said, oh, is it hard or something? I'm like, no, it's not hard. And I said, and I don't know if you really are genuinely interested in my hair or if you're trying to embarrass me. I don't know. She said, no, I just really want to know. And I said, well, I don't know any other way to tell you, but I don't want you touching my hair. I'm not a petting dog or anything like that. So, just accept it for what it is. I accept yours the way it is. I don't touch yours, and neither do I ask to touch yours. So we have our differences there. So that was one of the hurdles that I had to get over. And what I did to get past that, I found myself overexerting and overworking myself so that I could fit in. And it was a painful journey. And, I don't even know if at that time I was thinking, this is so unfair. Why is this happening to me? More so than I was thinking, how can I prove that I am too worthy and knowledgeable and educated enough to do these different things. So I know that one thing that helped me keep going in corporate America was the fact that I was like, you know what, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to win. They think this way about me, but I'm going to show them that I too have a brain, and no matter what I look like on the outside, which was very liberating for me to do that, no matter what I look like on the outside, I am going to fight through and make sure that I show them what my true worth is, not by how I look on the outside, but what's all up in here and what's in here. And so I kept on at it, and I was really showing up as the hard worker and really doing a lot of things to support leadership and their initiatives, and really working with, the teams that I was assigned to make sure everyone was progressing and learning and feeling like their opinions mattered. And I found a really nice spot for me in corporate America to where I was able to balance, both sides of what, people were dealing with, minorities dealing with non-minorities who felt like they were dominant in that space. And that was very helpful for me. And I was able to get some leadership roles as a result. And I remember, this brings me to the third piece of, navigating corporate America as an African-American woman. I remember I was reassigned. I'm in Atlanta, by the way. I didn't tell you guys that, but probably can hear my accent. But I was originally assigned to the southeastern area where I would travel and go to different locations and meet with my teams. I had like a team of 50 with some other managers that reported up to me, and we would all manage the team. And, my boss was, in the Atlanta office, and I reported to him, and I thought everything was cool, and I had a great relationship with my boss. They decided to consolidate customer service for my organization. And so then now I was reporting out of Cincinnati. And I remember getting a new boss, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want a new boss. My boss is great. I don't want anything to change, because that was before I understood change management. And I got my new boss, and within a couple of months, he said, Monica, I need to have a meeting with you. And I said, okay, sure. And in that meeting, he said, I don't know how to break this to you, but your salary is significantly, I was waiting for him to say higher. He said lower than every other manager in the country. Because at this time he was managing all of the managers. There were like 25 of us throughout the whole United States. And of those 25 managers, 3 of us were African-American. One was in Florida, it was me, and then one in Baltimore. And the other, 20 something were there was one Hispanic, she was in California, and then the rest of them were white, male and female. And he said, it is significantly less. And I can't even sleep at night just knowing, how much less your salary is than all of my other managers. And I remember thinking, well, I thought I made a great salary, because you don't know until somebody tells you. And, I'm learning that a lot about different things that we're all experiencing as minority women, is that you don't really know until, people start sharing information. And with social media, that's become, a more popular thing. But back then it was like, how do you get this information? And so he said to me, I don't know what your previous boss was doing, but it's not right that he did that, because he's aware of the salary structure for this role, or was aware of it, and he should have compensated you. It was like a 40% less than everybody else. It was that significant. And he said, I really can't get you there overnight. I can't like drop this amount of money into, your salary and bump you up like this overnight. So it's really going to have to take a phased in approach. And, he said it was going to take like over the course of a year to get me there. So they would have to do something like every 3 or 4 months to get me there. And it really made me think, as being a leader, just making sure that when I was interviewing and I was, hiring talent to fill positions, that I didn't put any other woman through that ever. I wanted to make sure that people were treated equitably, based on, their educational background and their years of experience, and not to ever have a situation to where just because someone is maybe a woman or maybe, a minority, whatever the case is, that they're not feeling or being told that they're worth less. Because that's basically what I was told, is that I was worth less, when that happened. I don't need that money for whatever reason, because, maybe he had a thought in his mind that because I was a woman, then, my husband at the time was the one that was taking care of the household. Doesn't matter. All women deserve equal pay, equitable pay, based on experience and things like that. And so that was just the truth of the matter. So, it was helpful to learn, that I was being compensated less, but it really made me rethink the relationship that I had with that manager, because he was still in that dynamic. And I had to kind of separate the emotions from everything. And, although I still, would check in with him because he was a really nice guy, I just still felt a little bit slighted and felt like, something was owed back to me. But I was grateful to be put in a position to where someone acknowledged it. And I'm finding out that, just with everything that's going on with social injustices these days, is that a lot of things that need to happen for minorities and women seems to have to come from people that don't look like us, in order for someone to really pay attention to it. And I'm finding out that, if even when you look at comments in social media, you might see, a racist comment here or there. Well, there's lots of them, not just here and there, but you may see them in the comments under particular articles, like Ahmaud Arbery's mom is suing, and there's a bunch of different comments that I was looking at under some articles today. But then you start to have white men that are coming in saying, yeah, she should sue, and do this and do that. And I'm realizing that when we have that support from others that don't look like us, we're able to move along a little bit quicker than when we don't. And I was very grateful to have, that particular manager, because he was a white man that was telling me that I was underpaid. But of course, he was above the Mason-Dixon line, and I'm in the South, and things in the South are, it's just kind of slow. And, there's a lot that's going on. A lot that's going on with social injustices, and we're still fighting through it. The organization that I'm with today, I'm fortunate enough to be part of our diversity. We call it the IDEA. So it's Inclusion, Diversity, Equality, and Accessibility Council, where I'm the vice chair there. So what I do a lot of today is I introduce diversity and inclusion programs to our whole organization. And it's a medium size. It's like, maybe it's small. It's 100 employees that cover the whole country, and making sure that PAs are certified. But we have a lot of different programs that we're offering. We're doing like movies, and we're sending people to the National Civil Rights Museum, and we're having discussions where people can talk about different things that make them unique, because it's not all just about race. There's a lot of way people think, maybe they're limited, as far as their physical abilities, and different things like that. So that has been, I would say, the most rewarding part of my career. And not to mention, my CEO is a Hispanic and Black woman. She's a mixed woman, and she's been there, I think, 6 years now, and she's made a tremendous impact on us all. So there's a lot of women in leadership that look like me. So that's very comforting. We're able to bounce things off of each other. And they're all brilliant and smart women, just like all of us are. And we were just given the chance to be able to be in that space and be in a leadership role and help to influence others and show others that it is possible to work your way up in being in those type positions. So I just want to end it by saying that everyone, like all of us, we are enough. There's nothing outside of us that we need to have or to get that's going to make us complete, because we're already complete as we are. We have everything within us, and we can pull what's within us and make great things happen for other people. So just know that you all are beautiful. You all have your unique talents. Don't let anyone take away your peace, steal your energy, steal your joy. Know that you are enough. And one of the things that I've been doing all 2021, as if we've been in it for long, so anyway, but I've still been doing it all 2021, is protecting my energy and my peace. So if someone doesn't get a call back from me, it just means that they have let off something that's really disrupting my energy and my peace. And I am not going to let that happen. COVID has taught me to do things differently and to think differently, because I'm really trying to protect my mental sanity with hearing all the COVID deaths and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm really trying to protect my peace. And if something doesn't bring me peace, I make sure that I dispel it or get rid of it and move on to my support system and women like you, meeting and talking with women like you to keep myself motivated and to stay positive. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing your story.
Welcome.
That was very powerful and touching. And it's good to know that we have sisters like you who are fighting for us. Because as you said, while we are in this economic climate where, for things to happen and change to come about, it takes someone who does not look like you and I to make it happen. It's nice to know that we do have someone like you who is fighting on our behalf. So it all starts with one. Any questions for Monica? No?
No. I just want to say that I too have locks. So when I first started my job, I've been at my job for 38 years. So when I first started my job, I was young. I had my hair cut short. And just like you said, everyone is like so curious about our hair and it's like, oh, why is your hair short? Does it not grow? And then as it grew, it's like, wow, your hair grows real fast. It's so thick. What do you do to your hair? How do you wash your hair? What do you use? What are you eating with your hair? I mean, for your hair. And then when I started my locks, I had, my hair was always natural. I had this thing where I just wore a hairnet because my hair was so thick and I didn't put a perm in it. So my permanent hairstyle was just to leave it in an afro, shape it up right, and put a hairnet on. And it's ironically, my name is Annette. So a lot of people was like, is your name Annette, or do you call yourself Annette because you wear a net? And I was like, no, my mother did name me Annette, but I wore that hairstyle for a long time. And throughout the years, I tried to lock my hair and it never did lock. It was like very fine and very curly. And then my friend Annette, which is also on the line, she took me to the beauty parlor, which I had this thing where I don't go to the beauty parlor. It was like a whole big issue with me. I had a support system in the beauty parlor. I was like, I had my male friend and Annette was there. You know, you would have thought I was going for major surgery. But finally, my hair did lock. And then that was a whole transition at my job as well, because my hair was natural, so I didn't have to cut it. So it started with the two-strand twist. And it was like, oh, what did you do to your hair? What are you doing? It's like, oh, you're going to keep it like that? And then it also became the whole issue about, do you wash your hair? And I said, let me tell you something. Having locks, I do more to my hair to maintain it than I did when I had my afro, because I have to spray it in the morning. I have to moisturize it, put oil on it, get it retwisted. So like for them to say, is that dirt? Is this? And it's like, oh my God. And detoxing your hair, please. It's just a whole thing. And then when I went to China back in 2015, that was like the biggest thing with my hair in China, because they literally ran up to me and started touching my hair and petting it. I'm like, I felt like, you know, like, get off of me, you know? And I didn't want to move too suddenly because I was afraid of them and they were afraid of me, but it was like such a cultural thing. But some of the people that kept asking me about my hair, I said, you know what? There's YouTube, Google it. You want to know about our hair? Google it. Google the history, Google what we do, Google how we moisturize and take vitamins. Just leave me alone. My hair is my hair. It was like, so I truly understand the story that you was telling. I was like, I was laughing to myself. I was like, my God, they just don't stop.
Yeah. It's amazing, you know, because, you know, when we want to know things, we just Google it. But, you know, I'm trying to remember if Google was like a thing back then, and maybe it was. I forget how long the internet has been around, because I think it's been around a while, but this was like 90, no, maybe it was 2000, somewhere around that time. And I guess the internet and Google was out then. So.
Well, if they wanted to know and find out, they could have found out. I mean,
that's
like,
true.
there's other ways they could. I think a lot of them was just being either, they didn't want to be rude, but at the same time, they are being rude, sarcastic, and they do. A lot of the times I don't even answer their questions. I act like I don't hear them, because I do feel like they're trying to embarrass me in some sort. So I just like keep the conversation, keep going, or I pull them to the side afterwards. I said, listen, if you really want to know about my hair, Google it, or do it yourself. Go to the beauty parlor. What you asking me for? You know, like it really is annoying sometimes. It really is.
Yeah, one of the things I learned in our diversity training, because we had an organization-wide diversity training last week, which, you know, you start to learn things about the employees too, which it was the first time we've had one. But anyway, I learned that California has a law that protects people from being discriminated, you know, for jobs and different things throughout the state. And, I think they call it like a protective hair law or something like that. So women that have natural hair, be it an afro or dreadlocks like us, they're protected, or cornrows, whatever they want to wear, braids, because, a lot of times we would not get, considered for jobs if we went to an interview with braids in our hair, which sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it was a fact. And, there's a law there now, and hopefully it's going to spread throughout the country, because that's just like ludicrous and nonsense, because that is a cultural thing out here.
I believe it's called the Crown Act.
Yes. The Crown Act? Okay.
It's called the Crown Act. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Who would think we would need a law to allow us to wear our hair the way it
we
grows
see fit?
out of our scalp. I find that to be, I don't know, interesting.
I think Black hair is only accepted when white people are doing it.
Absolutely.
Not to say too much, but like when you have the Kim Kardashian and the Kylie Jenners, and they're wearing cornrows and box braids, then it's like, oh my God, she looks so exotic. But meanwhile, when we have it, it's a big problem, because I too have had statements made to me when because I'm wearing a weave now, but one time took the weave down and it was my natural hair. And I remember one of my bosses was like, "What'd you do to your hair?" And it was like this very perplexed look on his face. And I'm like, but I chose to just not answer because I really just didn't want to be messed with. So I'm like, I didn't do anything. And he's like, okay, it looks different. And it's like, it's the way that they're saying it. It's like, and to be honest with you, I'll just leave it here. I think the thing with white people is that they get to not embrace us. Meanwhile, we have to embrace them. So they have no knowledge or awareness of us, what we do, how we celebrate our culture, how we represent our culture, how we, how we do us. Meanwhile, we have awareness of them. Like, why do I know that white people wash their hair every day? Why? Because we know their stuff. Meanwhile, they don't have to know our stuff, but they can know. You know what I mean?
Speculate. Yeah.
So
the other thing,
I mean, not to say too much, but I just wanted to chime in with that. Like, I've gone through it and it sucks, but what are you gonna do?
I think as a people, we adjust. We adjust and we inquire and we learn, and I think that has a lot to do with who we are as a people.
Right.
The other thing too is that all of this is a legacy of oppression for hundreds of years, right? And so my thing as of late has been to encourage people to keep a paper trail whenever these things happen, because and to qualify it, right? To document when someone makes inappropriate statements about hair, about anything that could possibly do with my race. And if you need to submit an anonymous EEOC complaint or an anonymous HR complaint, but I encourage everyone to do it so that there is, such a preponderance of evidence that they can't say, oh, it was that one time. Oh, he was joking, right? When you have 5, 10, 15 people coming forward, or you have 5, 10, 15 separate complaints on this one person, it then creates a paper trail. And we have to start doing that and not just shrugging it off, not just saying, you know what, I have accepted this burden for so long, I'm going to keep on accepting it, because that's not okay. Because what that is, it's racist ass people being completely oppressive, passive aggressive, and entitled to thinking they have dominion over you and yours. And that is degrees of crazy.
And what's crazy is, though, you say the wrong thing, oh, you better believe they're writing it up. They're turning it in, no hesitation.
They're writing you up.
Meanwhile, we, on the other hand, we're gonna, ponder and think, like, do I want to come across as the anti-Black person?
Yeah.
Do I, maybe it's not worth it. It's just something that they do. We make excuses for them and they get away with it. So you're absolutely right. We need to change that. That's something that we need to start within ourselves. And know that's just not right.
What I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to say is I'm a lot older than y'all, and I've gone through when they have the afros. People say we look like we come from the jungle, because me and my twin would have our hair in afro. And when I decided to do my dreads, they're very long. I got flack from my people and those other people. You know, what bothered me the most was our people, you know, would say negative things about our hair. And I remember the secretary, when I first got my hair, you know, when I first started doing it, I had to go through different changes, and I eventually ended up at another hairdresser who just cut my hair off, and it was so short, and she made fun of me. And one day she said to me, this is a couple of years later, she says, Margaret, remember when I used to make fun of you? She said, now your hair is longer than mine. You know, and she just took it as a joke. I was very serious, and I put her in her place.
Good.
You know, I was annoyed because, you know, I'm not complaining or saying anything about negative about her hair, but she's saying negative stuff about mine.
About your hair.
And I love my hair the way it is. I love it the way it is. I'm not worried about what anyone else thinks about my hair. I might worry about other things, but it definitely isn't my hair. That's all I have to say.
I just wanted to say that I did experience what she experienced with the salary. My first job outside of college, I went to Long Island University, so I have a bachelor's degree in business. My first job was working at JCPenney's, and I was hired as a manager, I was told. But then as time went on, I can't remember how I found out, but I wasn't a manager. They had me as a supervisor, but I was still doing the management work. So one of the ladies in HR brought me up and she said, Phyllis, you are making a significant amount of money less than everybody else. And she said, if I show you this, you can't say anything because I'll get fired. So she brought up everybody's salary, and I was making at least $20,000 less than them. So what I did was I stayed until they promoted me to management, and I got another job in Manhattan making about $12,000 more. And that they went out of business of that location that I was at, but I did experience that, and it wasn't nice. But my thing was, I just wanted to stay and prove to them that I could do the job. And then I got another job making, you know, a significant amount of money more. So I know what that's like, and it wasn't nice. That's all.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Well, thank you again, Monica. Cheers to you.
Yes.
Cheers. Sip your wine, sip your water, whatever you have, ladies.
There you go.
I would like to say something.
Please do, go ahead.
Thank you, first of all, Elizabeth, for inviting me to this forum. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I thank you for having me here tonight. But I just want to say, you know, I know that we have been dealing with this conversation for such a long time, and I'm sitting here with my mom and my husband, and we're sitting here like, I can't believe we're still having this conversation with one another. That after all this time, we're still going through these experiences in the workforce. I just put something in the chat like, you know, this is where it's so important for us to really take entrepreneurship to another level so we can create those safe places for ourselves and not have to be in those places. I know that, you know, some of us have that fear of not having that security, but we just have to start creating our secure places, because I've experienced it myself with my hair and people coming to touch it, because I wear my hair in a big old afro and they want to, oh, what's that? Let me see. How do you go from straight to this, to that, to braids, to, and it's like, leave me alone. Like, how do you go from pigtails to color to bleach to straight to highlights to whatever? Like, I'm not asking you about your highlights, leave my hair alone. But I think it's so important for us to just create a safe place for one another. I didn't want to say too much. I just didn't want to leave without saying anything.
No, this is the place for you to say all you want to say, honey.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think with what you just said, the fact that we're still doing this means that we need to reprogram and train our kids so that they don't have to go through this, you know? So because we know that this is a continuous battle, we have to start early. You know, we got to instill in our little ones that no matter what, however they decide they want to wear their hair, however it is beautiful. You are gorgeous, right? And beauty is something that is not just within, it is out, and it is how you see it, and it's how you feel. And if you feel beautiful, you look beautiful. Baby, you are beautiful. You know, we just need to encourage them and teach them that from a very young age.
Yes. Born free. Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Be free. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
have a question. I wanted to pose a quick question.
Yep, please.
How do you feel with just the other asking questions? Like for me personally, I don't mind. Like, I'm a teacher and majority of my coworkers that yeah, I would say it's 50-50. And a lot of them ask questions. Even there's this one particular white male teacher, that asks questions. And I actually don't mind the questions if it's coming from a genuine place. Like he's like, okay, so one minute your hair is kind of straight, but then the next minute you have braids. See, so that's I rather you ask than assume. So I'm just putting it out there. Like, how do you feel when they? I'm
like you.
But if you ask questions, like I'm good with that. You know, because it's part of educating. You want to know,
and that's what I was going to just say,
you.
Marissa. Is that just like you? As educators, we know it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Absolutely,
it's all about the delivery, right?
Absolutely.
So, as you said, if it comes from a genuine place. And depending on how the question is proposed to you, then that's completely different. You want to give knowledge because if they don't know, you want to educate. That's what we do as educators.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't want, I'm like, I don't want you going around thinking that
making
don't wash
assumptions.
out hair, or you know what I mean. So I'm like, I'm all bring the questions. Like we gonna have this conversation.
But like with what Annette experienced and I have experienced, because I remember just like Annette when you say you went to China and they were like, oh my God. I remember when I first came here from Jamaica, when I first walked into 4th grade and I had cornrows in my head.
Frozen.
I'm frozen. Oh
no, you're coming.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So I remember, my mom, she did cornrows and clips.
Cornrows and clips.
And I walked in and then the kids gathered around me and they touched my braids and they were like, how you do that? And I remember going home so devastated. Like I put on my big girl panties at the moment. I wasn't gonna cry in front of everyone, but I went home and begged my mom, can I please let my hair out? You don't understand. And boop, boop, boop in my head. And then she went back to the braids again and sent me off the next day.
You know what? It's not, I think the difference is it's not what you do, but how you do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think in the example of the person that went to China, they do not have the same relationship with slavery and Black people in the way that we have here. Yes, they have their own issues, right? So for them, it's truly admiration and like this sense of adornment that they're coming with, right? The other thing is that just like we have all this burden and responsibility to understand white people and to tap dance around their emotions, it's incumbent upon other races as well to understand the burdens and the baggage they bring to the table, right? Mm-hmm. If you have questions, that's completely okay. You pull me to the side, you put something on my calendar, we could have a 101, we could have a virtual happy hour, and we could talk all about Black hair if that's what you want to do. But what you're not going to do is embarrass me in front of other people, try to elevate yourself by having a conversation about me in front of others. That's the difference. It's how you do it. Don't consider my feelings, right? Because if it were any other scenario, right? We make accommodations for sexuality, we make accommodations for disabilities, we make so many different accommodations. Make accommodations for how I may feel with you putting me on the spot. Think about that first before you ask a question. I don't care if you were just trying to be innocent, if you were just trying to be that, no, think about it first. I'm sorry, listen.
Yeah, I used to feel like I didn't mind the questions, but then I started to think like, I cannot be the only Black person that you
Yes!
You have to come in contact with other Black people. You have to train. You see people with box braids, like,
yes,
don't act brand new. So I started to get frustrated even with the questions.
That's why I get frustrated, because I'm like, I can't be the only Black person that you know.
Exactly.
I can't be the only person you've seen walking around looking like this. So get up out my face. I'm not going to answer your questions. And it's not because I'm a hostile person, but I personally think that it's never from a good place. I don't ever think it's ever from, because you're intelligent enough to seek the knowledge if you really wanted it. You know what I mean? Sorry, guys. My kids are getting loud. I'm going back on mute.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That conversation, it just definitely opened my eyes and views in a lot of ways. And that was such a great conversation to piggyback off of Monica, your story as far as that. And it touches me because I never knew that everyone had something that had happened to them that they can relate to that. So thank you so much for sharing. And thank you ladies for chiming in. That was just wonderful. Let's go on to our next guest speaker, First Lady Miss Tameeka Richards. It's all yours. Take it away. Take us on your journey. Tell us your story. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Elizabeth, for inviting me to this wonderful space. And I am a planner, so I'm sorry I have my kind of life written out because I'm not a good on the spot. That was excellent, Monica. I was like, how is she doing that, just speaking? I would be all over the place. So excuse me, I have to pull up my notes.
That's fine.
Excuse me 1 second. Okay, here's my notes. So, like you know, my name is Tameeka Richards, and I was born in London, England. And my parents are Jamaica, West Indies natives, and they were also raised in London, England. And my parents bought a house well, everyone is different. I thought everyone was from Queens. But my parents bought a home in Far Rockaway, Queens, and raised my sister and I in that home. And throughout my life, I learned many things about myself through life's obstacles and my reactions to them. And my hobbies as a child were listening to music, going to dance in school, and driving my older sister crazy. I can listen to music for hours, and my favorites are R&B, soul, reggae, and rap from the 90s and 2000s era. And education was definitely a priority in my home, and graduating from college was a necessity. So my sister and I had to go to school daily, no excuses. I went to Baruch College in New York City and graduated with a BBA in business marketing. After some soul searching, I realized I wanted to be an educator, so I went back to school and earned a master's degree in school counseling. And later, I returned to school for a certificate in educational leadership. And lastly, I started to take doctoral courses, but I paused when I had my son. I'm still on pause. Maybe I'll go back one of these years, who knows. During my transition from a business degree to a degree in school counseling, I returned back to Baruch College to ask for recommendation letters from 2 professors. One of my professors wrote a beautiful, heartfelt letter about my personal drive and determination, while the other professor told me I will never become a school counselor. This at the time hurt my feelings, but at the time I chuckled and I got another letter recommendation and got into the school counseling program and graduated with a 3.9 grade point average and was hired as a school counselor in 2010. During this phase of my life, I realized that I am relentless and I show up for myself. The professor's comments triggered me because I always had to work and study a little harder to be a B+ student. I attended the gifted and talented programs in Queens. I went to PS 106Q, I went to 183Q for a year, and junior high school 180 in the SRI program. And throughout these years, I beat to my own drum. I was always laughing, and the kids were, like, that's Tameeka, she's cool, but she's just a little, And I worked really hard in all of my classes. I then attended Hillcrest High School, also in Queens, and graduated in 3 years because I made a goal to hurry up and enter college. I had just about enough of high school and I wanted to be an adult like my sister. So I went to night classes in high school to get a year ahead. And during my first year of college, I attended Brooklyn College at the age of 17. I left my home at 5 a.m. on days of classes and traveled 2 hours to school and had to get back home and come back to my second course that started at 5:45 p.m. Excuse me, that's my son in the background. This totaled to 8 hours of travel. I did this until I started to get to know the other students on the campus, and I hung around the campus until my evening course. It seems like all freshmen at the time had terrible schedules. This period of my life showed me I was very determined, strong-willed, and adaptable. Throughout my college years, I learned that I can balance school, work, and a personal life. This was a very exhausting time in my life, but I felt the most free. This part of my life showed me I was very strategic, a planner, and I'm also very balanced. The next phase of my life is when I met Donovan, my husband, and started my career. So in 2008, I met my now husband, and we were married back in 2011. So we're coming up to our 10th year. I became a school counselor in 2010 and returned to school and received my educational leadership certification, like I stated, and I was promoted to an assistant principal in 2013. Shortly after that, in 2015, I became a mommy to my beautiful baby boy, Donovan. I received another promotion shortly after that and became the director of enrollment and recruitment. And during this phase, I did not put myself as a priority, and I lost the sense of balance that I once had with being a mother, wife, and career woman. So this current time in my life is all about living intentionally. That means I am in the present moment and I try to create and enjoy the moments in my life. I am learning myself all over again. So after the huge transition from being a full-time student for a big chunk of my life, and then to transition into adulthood with all of the added responsibilities, I lost that balance. I'm now finding the courage to demand that balance back into my life. This was much harder said than done. For approximately 10 years, I molded myself into the adult, Mrs. Richards. So now I'm creating, my alter ego for that balance that gave me my sense of freedom way back when. And I think I will name her Tameeka. She is always there for me when I need her. She still loves music, dancing, and laughing. And this phase encompasses faith, clarity, and joy. I'm very proud of my progression, and there was always a constant throughout my life, and that is God. He was and is always with me. My career now is aligned to my passion as the Director of Pupil Personnel Services. I am able to return back to my initial love of counseling, and I mentor and support counselors with creating comprehensive school counseling programs. And my greatest joy was when I became a mother back in that November 2015 to my beautiful son. He is so smart, witty, and is full of life. From the moment he wakes up until he goes to bed, he is bursting with tons of energy. He is my miracle from God. He is love personified. So who am I? I am a child of God, a force of nature. I'm consistent, goal-oriented, determined, lovable, focused, strong, and vulnerable. And I'm a fierce mother and wife. So.
Yay, thank you, Mrs. Tameeka Richards, because you are now taking back your name. Anything you guys would like to say to Tameeka, or maybe ask? Any questions, comments?
I think I have a question, and it probably will spark some conversation amongst a lot of us. But I heard you saying, that's my son in the background. So my daughter is often in the background, but for some reason she's staying away. So my husband probably told her to stay upstairs or something. But how are you guys managing? I know some people may be back in the office, and some people may still be at home and have been home for almost a year now, just working from home. But how are you managing, being a wife and being a mother and, having your own career aspirations and, different things that are passions that you have that you want to make sure that you fulfill so that you can, feel like you've accomplished the things that you want in life and not what others want in life. So how have you managed that?
Great question.
That is a great question. I take it one moment at a time.
Great answer.
Because it's sometimes, especially when it first started, when the world stopped and, now we're remote, now you're working from home, and now you have all these added responsibilities and everyone's in the home. So I found Ayanna Van Zant.
Girl, yes.
Own your stuff.
Yes.
And she had a virtual living room.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically created a schedule, like, for my spiel, I'm a planner. So I had to get myself a strict routine. So basically, I woke up at a certain time, I exercised for half an hour, and then, got my son together with, learning online. And then, everything was, in a routine, like the breakfast, lunch, we did family walks. I said, okay, let's walk, and I just had like a routine. I even had a conference call with my family because all of my family is in England. We're the only ones in America. So we got on Zoom and that was wonderful. So we had things to look forward to. So, and also like when I started to say, I'm the cook, I'm the this, I'm the that, all those negative thoughts. I learned a lot on YouTube with, negative thoughts and managing them, because a lot of times when we're overwhelmed, it's because we're just letting those negative thoughts just, get away with us, and we attach feelings to those negative thoughts. So I realized, okay, I'm thinking this right now. I'm gonna, observe that feeling, but I'm not gonna attach any emotion to it, and then I, switch and try to, tell myself a new story, okay, I'm getting to spend all this time with my family, I'm getting to actually help my child learn, the way that I think that he can learn. So once I did that, oh my goodness, my skin started to clear up. I started to lose some weight. I started to be very mindful, and it really, really, helped when I started to tell myself a new story. So I took things one moment at a time, put myself on a schedule, and I fed my mind with positivity. That's what I did.
Nice. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that, right, ladies?
Yes. And just hearing you talk about some of the negative thoughts that were in your head and how you listen to how that can basically disrupt your flow or your path where you're trying to go. And I found that to be true on my end as well, because that's something I was struggling with. I don't mind being at home, but I guess being at home a little bit too much, what is it, a year now, it started to affect me and I didn't realize it. And then every time I started to have these thoughts, I would put it on paper. And at the end of the night, I would look back at my thoughts and I'm like, oh my goodness, like that's not what I want in my mind, in my space. And I started to do, just started to think other positive thoughts throughout the day, just to, deter me from those negative thoughts. So it is definitely, your mind is dangerous in so many ways, and in so many ways it's powerful,
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you turn the negative into positive, So for me, like, if you hate cooking, you're like, I am a cook. I am a chef. I am a nutritionist. Those are the positive attributes of it. But I'm blessed beyond measure. I'm truly grateful. I have a husband who absolutely loves to cook. And one thing that I was very glad that I did was teach him how to cook as soon as when we got together. So, and he loves the art of cooking. So I'm so appreciative of that, because I don't know, we had to come up with creative ways over the summer, because cooking all the time, it was overwhelming and it just felt like a task. We're always here, we're always together. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. So I started this thing where we were just traveling. We we did a staycation vacation, and we traveled to different countries every week. I would either pick one, or I will have one of my kids pick a country, and we will make meals from that country. We will watch a movie from that country. I mean, we did the whole thing. The drama in me just came out.
I love it.
And they loved it. They had so much fun with it, so much fun. So some of us, we find ways to make do. How about you, ladies? Sparked any creative things or ways of coping over this last year? Being a mom, a wife. as Monica said, handling and juggling all those things, just like Tameeka?
So this is Charlene, and I don't know. Hi, hey Margaret. So I don't know that I have all of the situations that you do as being a single person going through the pandemic, but I have learned to cook more because I wasn't going to my parents initially during the pandemic. So I had to eat. So I had to take heed of what was in the house and put some things together. So I have upped my cooking game during the pandemic.
Nice.
And the air fryer is my new friend. Me and the air fryer get along real well, and the crock pot. But you know, speaking about, you know, the mental aspect of it and all, just being here by myself, and, you know, my parents not wanting to get on Zoom and they just wanted to do phone calls, that I think sort of irritated me, but I had to meet them where they were until I could physically see them. And I had my neighbors to check in on them because I was terrified because they are older. So it's real. We're all going through it, and we all, you know, we lean into each other. Like, I'm grateful for this because although I have never physically met Simone, I have met Elizabeth, but you know, they're my cousin-in-laws, you know? So this is all a great thing and I appreciate it. And I mean, I get on as much as I want to, but no, I'm here in spirit and I will always try to contribute. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone
All
else?
right.
Well, my son, Clarence, he's going to college for agriculture. So I entertained him and I gave him free run of my backyard. So in lieu of that, he built a greenhouse and we started a whole garden. And we grew several different fruits and vegetables, so much that we were able to give to the neighborhood. And in lieu of that, I learned, that's right, I went on YouTube and I learned how to freeze and preserve our vegetables that we harvest. So that was very entertaining for me. It was healthy for us. And then since we had all this food, we started juicing, we started looking at different recipes so that we could utilize all this food. So it was a great bonding experience as well with my son, because, you know, being the male and the female differences and being 19, you know, that's the age where they're like, oh, mom, you know. So it was, the pandemic kind of put us together and gave us something to do. And it was very creative. And he started naming we grew watermelon and cucumbers. He started naming them. They had names. And when we was building the greenhouse, one of the things that we got used to was looking at Craigslist, and everything that we use to make it, is recycled. We were able to get the wood free. We was able to get plastic windows. It was almost amazing and became like a scavenger hunt. So that was fun for us. And that's how we coped and got outside. And, you know, it was nice not just staying in the house all the time. We had something else to focus on.
That sounded fun. That sounded like fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Good evening. I have a question for Tameeka. How are you doing? How do you, I noticed I seen you in the community. I know you from when Donovan was with Sanders, and then when y'all were getting together and y'all were Mr. and Mrs. Obama. And I was like, yeah, boy back then. Way back then. Yes. How do you enjoy that now changing into from our city council 31 to now the Queensborough president, which now you're our first African-American male and wife, that you're the first lady? How do you feel about being that Queensborough president side?
Thank you for your question. Well, quite honestly, it's lonely, you know, because my husband is always working and it's like times 1,000 now. It's like Now he has a whole borough, and he's the president of it. So now the shift is I would have to be more involved in what he does, because that's really his life, because before, with the city council, he was busy, but still it wasn't like it is now, So now we just have to find ways to spend time together, even if it's like working on a project together or anything like that, So that's really like the big change, but he loves it. He has a driver now, and my son is hilarious because he gets dropped off from school from with the driver. So that was a big adjustment, seeing that. And we're like different events. We have a Coming to America. That's my favorite movie of all time. Okay. So the Coming to America 2 event, they're having it like for Queens, because like the movie took place in Queens. So that's something that like I get excited for now. I'm like, what? He tells me, oh, I'm doing this bill or that bill. I'm like, oh, that's nice. But he said, Coming to America. I said, what? Coming to America? He's like, oh, now you're excited. So yeah, so it's really, really, really lonely now, because it's different, So it's not as glamorous as it seems, It's a lot of more hard work for me, and and his baby Donovan misses him a lot more. He feels the difference too.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking.
Well, at least now Wednesday nights that we are having Wind Down Wednesday, that if you can and you're not busy, you have us here, to keep you laughing or occupied for an hour or two.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that.
Absolutely. All right, Liz. No, I'm sorry, Annette.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was getting so wrapped up in trying to make everything okay. I'll say it. So, I am going to give you the update of our upcoming events. So, this is our first, and in honor of March is Black History Women's Month. And what we're doing to honor it, we're having our first Wind Down Wednesday self-care spa night on Wednesday, March 24th. This is an invite only. So we need your email addresses so that we can send you the invitation. When you receive the invitation, we will then ask for your name and your address and your telephone number, because we're getting gifts and sent to us, and we're going to send it to you. And we can't send it to you if you don't give us your name and your address and telephone number. And we're trying to get all of this done by March 10th. So
can I chime in?
Yes.
First of all, I'm excited about this self-care day. Who's not more excited about it than me? So it's just been I'm one of those that I just love to meet people, whether it's over the internet or whether it's face-to-face. And I met some amazing Black business owners who are contributing their products. So we are going to have products to use for this self-day event. We have a face mask. Now, all of these products are free. The only thing is that when you are partaking in this event is that you just basically place a review on the business owner page about whatever it is that they did give us, basically. So
whatever you received and whatever products you use.
Right. Yes. So I'm excited about that. We do have quite a few people that register for the event. It's going to be a small event, and it's going to be called our VIP event. We do have about, I think, 10 more tickets left. But the one thing you have to remember is when you do register and you get your ticket from Eventbrite, there's an email address for you to send me your information, since I'll be putting the packages together and sending them out to you. Please send me that information. I mean, we have so many tickets already sold free now. They're not sold, but they're free. but I have not received one email with anyone's home address. So I'm like, okay, how are we supposed to make this happen? So if you do register for the Self Day Spa event, and by the way, we have an amazing speaker. She's a relationship / sex therapist that's going to be basically hosting the event for us and just sharing lots of information that we as women would need to know. So yeah, please, if you do register, just send me an email with your home address, your name, and home address, email, name, and phone number, just in case if I have any questions.
And space is limited. Remember, Liz, space is limited. So it's first come, first serve, and we're only selecting the first 25.
Yes.
Unless we decide to up it. But so ladies, you want to jump on that right away. Make sure you are one of the first 25 ladies.
Right. And again, we're just supporting Black business owners, as we want the support. We support each other. And I think it's a great idea. The co-hosts, they thought of it, and it's just amazing. So I'm sorry, Annette, I had to, because I get excited about that.
Hey, that's who you are, Liz. I've dealt with you all my life. You like in the yin and the yang. Somebody got to keep you. Someone has to hold the strings, though, because you go all over the place. But it's okay. It is okay. I love you anyway. Also, we also.
Question. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So you needed my email address again, or
no,
you have it,
no.
or.
Monique, I have your email address. You should have received a special link so that you can go to Eventbrite. And if you register on Eventbrite, when you register in Eventbrite, you can put your name, your telephone number, and your address, which will go back to myself or Liz, and then your order will be completed. Okay.
Thank you.
I think I sent it out Saturday. It was Saturday? Saturday, it was sent out.
Something's going on with my camera. Oh, there you are. I couldn't see anybody. Okay, very well. Thank you.
You're welcome, no problem. Liz, are you talking to us? You're on mute.
I sure was. I had a whole conversation. If you're interested and we don't have your email address, or if you just want to make sure we have your email address because you have not received the invite, just drop it in a chat group. Annette will add it to our mailing.
I'll send out another link again.
Yeah, and she'll send the link out to you. And I'm telling you, ladies, it's going to be an amazing event. So trust me, you don't want to miss this one.
Oh.
Thank you both for doing this. Thank everyone for getting it together, because it's nice. We really do need something like that.
Yes.
We need it every month.
Well,
right now, right?
We'll start with the one.
So the other information that we have, Gift of Giving Foundation has started a scholarship fund. If anyone would like to sponsor a scholarship, you can go to our website, giftofgivingfoundation.org. And if you know a student that lives in Nassau County, they can submit their application online for eligibility for a scholarship. Also, that's it for my news. And before we move on to our next gift, I would like to give a toast to the First Lady, Tameeka Richards.
Oh,
Here.
All right, and thank you, Simone, for that. And let's get on to our next guest, Miss Makeda Okala. Did I say that right?
Makeda Okala.
Oh, Makeda, I was so wrong. Thank you. Well, welcome, and we're so glad to have you. And please take us on your journey of life.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I think Elizabeth and I met on Clubhouse and then connected on Instagram. And so I just mentioned that because it sounds like all of us are from really strong communities and understand the power of connection. And even though we don't live in the same way that we did in some instances, I do think that we still see that virtually as well. So I do appreciate that. So I'll take you guys on a little bit of a journey. So I am from St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. It is the largest of the 3 islands, and I was raised by a single mom. I have 2 siblings, and I mentioned that because she dedicated her entire life to raising us. So that meant that she didn't work, she accepted public assistance. And so growing up, you know, I never knew that we were poor or that we didn't have, but I was aware of certain realities, right? Like I knew that she had Section 8, but I also knew that she opted for that so that we could have a yard, so that we can have outdoor space, so that we weren't in a project somewhere, right? She accepted food stamps, for example, but she made sure that we had very healthy food. So we were vegetarian all my life. And, you know, she did everything that she could to make sure that we were okay. I mentioned that though, because I think while she did an amazing job in raising my siblings and I, something that I did not know much about was financial literacy when I was growing up. I knew that she always said to, you know, pay your bills first and make sure that your responsibilities are covered. But outside of that, I had no real understanding of credit. I had no real understanding of home ownership because she never owned a home. I always knew that she wanted a piece of land, but that wasn't a dream that she was able to attain. And so education really, because she was so strict, you know, school was my outlet. And so it was never a question of whether or not I would do well in school because she would threaten to homeschool me and the conversation would be done. You were not going to take school away from me, right? So I did my best to do well in school and went on and pursued higher education. And so I earned degrees in environmental science and environmental policy, and then went on to grad school and got a dual master's degree in the same thing, essentially. Along that way, though, of course, I had no concept of these credit cards that people were just handing out like it was candy. And so definitely got myself into some credit card debt. Because what I did know about college was that you didn't want student loans. And so I actually declined a number of loans and just tried to figure it out because I knew loans were a bad thing. And instead, I was supplementing my life with credit cards for quite some time. So fast forward to me just realizing how important our financial health is. And I have become just so passionate about generational wealth, about financial literacy, and about wealth building. And so for me, it has taken the form of doing everything that I possibly can to clean up my credit. It has meant, you know, buying my first home, which is a huge deal. House hacking and renting out a room, or still having, you know, an old apartment of mine and staying on that lease and renting that out and making a little profit there, a little profit here. And then buying a second home, which is an investment that's in Baltimore right now. And then taking my boys along for that journey with me, right? So whenever we're going to look at a house, they're in the car, they might be in a corner playing a game on the phone, but they understand that the reason why we're here is because I am trying to do everything I can to build a better future for them. And that means, you know, dabbling where I'm not comfortable, right? So I know that in order to truly have generational wealth, I need to make sure that I have multiple streams of income. So that means, yes, focusing on my 9-to-5, which I love. I work for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which is a federal environmental agency. So whenever you check the weather on your phone, it is NOAA scientists that are doing what they have to do to ensure that we understand what the weather is. I focus on the Southeast and Caribbean region, which is really a dream for me because it means that in a few years I'll be moving home to the VI with my federal job to buy another house there too, right? So it's a lot of dreams of mine all wrapped into one. And I kind of lost myself in that rabbit hole. So let me figure out where I was. Right. So, you know, like it's really, you know, teaching them all these lessons and then doing things that I'm not comfortable with, right? Like stocks. I didn't know anything about stocks. But, you know, one thing that struck me was that when I graduated from high school, my mom was a saver. She is a saver. She has money in paper bags and onion bags and God knows what else underneath her bed and everywhere else, right? So she gave me $300 that was gifted to her when I was an infant. And when I tell you it was the same $20 bill, the same $5 bill, the same $10 bill, she kept it for literally 17 years, right? 17, 18 years. And I saw that and I was like, goodness, imagine if she invested that $300 in some Disney stock in 1984 when I was born, right? Like, we would have been had that house, you know? And so I tried to make sure, you know, I think with each generation, we want to be one step better off than the one prior. And so that means trying to talk to the boys about stocks, letting them know that they own a little piece of Netflix, a tiny piece of Disney, and also talking and normalizing talking about finances and wealth with my friends, with others whenever I can, because I think as Black people and also as Caribbean people, you know, there are topics that we hold tight to our chest and it's stuff to kind of hold indoors, right? It's personal business. You don't talk on the street with everybody about certain things. But we do a disservice to ourselves in doing that because you don't know who around you actually knows some of this information. A friend of mine I knew he was into stocks and I, you know, was talking to him about it. And one day he was like, you know, you need to take a look at Netflix. And so I bought 10 shares of Netflix at $188. And now mind you, I will tell you, the money I used was money that I had saved from when my first son, Che, was born, right? So I bought that when Che was probably around 5. So I held on to that money for about 5 years and I was itching because I was like, I know I need to invest this money. And finally, when he was around 5, I bought Netflix at $188 per share and 10 shares, so about $1,800 or so. Today, 1 share of Netflix is $544. And so, you know, that's just one example. And now I am not a super risky person, right? I buy what I think I can afford to lose. So it might be a little $50 here, you know, it might be $100 here or whatever the case is, but it's just something because I want to know that I have something being invested in my children's future. And so, you know, that has continued into me having 150 side hustles and also encouraging the boys to kind of think about that as well. So the older one is 8 and that's a whole nother conversation for another day, but he, of course, thinks money grows on trees, right? Because I'm struggling with this balance of instilling the values in him that I find value in without the struggle, right? And that's hard, right? Because I want to do well. I want to afford my children a certain sort of lifestyle. But then I find that in a lot of instances, they don't appreciate it and they can't appreciate it because they never went without it, right? So he is throwing money at Roblox and Minecraft like it's rice. And I finally was like, no, you're not, right? Like you're gonna buy some Roblox stock when it goes public. But beyond that, you're gonna get a job. You're gonna walk somebody's dog, you're gonna do something, and you're gonna earn the value of $1. And the money you earn from dog walking, you're gonna save a piece of it, and then you can use some of that for Roblox if you choose. So we haven't quite launched his dog walking business yet. But you know, that's just an example of one way I'm trying to instill some of these principles in him. And then for me, and I talk about it, you know, just as an example of me still being on a journey, is that I am really good at encouraging and empowering everybody around me to monetize their gifts, right? We all have gifts. You know, there was one person who was a good cook. I encouraged her to start a business. She's off making money off of it. You know, and I could just go down the line of ways that I see the light in other people and encourage them to like, listen, this could be a side hustle, but I don't do it for myself, right? And this is something that I think we do as women and as mothers sometimes. And so I have been, you know, just turning and trying to figure out, you know, like what can I do? Because I feel a little bit uncomfortable with charging people for certain things. But I've taken a leap and I've started an accountability coaching business because I truly believe in the power of community, of accountability, and of what can happen when you work one-on-one with someone to encourage them, to empower them, to check up on them, because that's what we need sometimes. And so it's Care Consulting on Instagram, and I'm still kind of working through the business. So if anyone out there wants to work with me on that and be sort of a sample client of mine and and help to share how you feel about the services that I'm providing, I would definitely love that. But I think that my story will continue. I want to continue investing in real estate. I want to continue purchasing stocks, and continue living in abundance in all ways, right? Financially, but also in physical health and mental health, and in other things as well. So I'll pause there because I know it's getting late, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a sample of my journey and who I am and where I'm going.
Yes, thank you. That is awesome. And I am one for all about generational wealth. So I thank you for sharing that. I firmly believe in like dibbling and dabbling in as many things as you possibly can and encouraging your children to do the same. And like you said, it's important that for us, I know, we always want to give our kids more than what we had. So I don't know. I'm thinking I might need to go buy Netflix, and maybe I need to start with one. 500 here. But any questions for Makeda?
Yeah. Hi, Makeda. Thank you for your story, especially about raising your kids and kind of getting them to understand the value of $1, because I'm having the same issue right now with my 16-year-old. I have one. He's 16, but he's actually working. He's working on weekends. He went out, he got a job. So now he's going to see the value of $1, because that little bit of money, I'm sure he's going to be watching how he spends it and everything like that. So I think that's really important. That's what happens now with this generation. We're not able to instill in them that hunger, and we have to be able to do that. They have to get a little bit of a struggle. But my question to you was, what platform are you currently investing with? Do you have a platform, or do you have an advisor, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so I use Charles Schwab, and a few years ago, a number of these major financial platforms stopped charging trading fees, which is a really, really good. Before, they would charge you $5 per trade. So every time that you purchase not a share, but each time you purchase, you made a trade transaction or a stock transaction, you would charge $5. Now you don't have to, now they don't charge anymore. I guess competition is so steep with like the Robin Hoods and using Cash App to invest in that sort of thing. I like the security of working with an established platform. And so that's why I'm with Charles Schwab. But, I'm sure you would get the same thing from like a TD Ameritrade or a Fidelity, or something like that. But yeah, my brother uses like
high.
Sorry?
High. Are their fees high, Charles Schwab?
No, so they don't charge fees anymore. So you get the benefit of having a very established platform, and you do not have any fees associated with the trades, because before that would cut into your overall profit margins, right? So that's what I use. I mean, I do know people that successfully use Robinhood, and there's another platform called Webull. I know other people use Cash App, but it's what I started with, and so that's what I've stuck with.
Great story. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
How cool is that you can now trade through Cash App? That, like, my mind is still blown about that. So that's sorry. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyone else have any other questions or comments? Anything you want to say to Makeda?
Well, I definitely want to share a little something, with my boys, my younger boys. I have two, 15 and 14. They were actually able to open up an account through the schools, I think when they were about 6 and 7. And what happens now is, because they know they have money in the bank, and of course they want to play whatever PS4 game or whatever Roblox, and they want, hey, can I get a card? And I'm like, absolutely not, but I have my own money. That money in the bank is my money. It's just so you get comfortable with going to the bank to deposit it, the money to see it grow. But it's still, I don't know if it's just this generation, but I'm still having a ongoing conversation with these boys when it comes to purchasing coins for a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
can't get it.
No, I am so against it. so against it, but I also get suckered into it. And so, I mean, I think there are a few things that you can do. And the one thing that I caution us, and I'm including myself in that because I'm a horrible offender of this, is to allow our children to enjoy money, right? To have a positive relationship with money. Not that money is just so restrictive, because I think that builds a negative psyche, right? And so I would say that it's important. I heard someone say to kind of have them divide their money into threes, right? So they have to offer something to savings, they need to pay rent, which is to pay you, right? And if you choose to give that back to them without them knowing, that's fine, but they need to pay something to earn their keep. And then they have their spending money. And so I think, Monique, even for your son who's 16, I think he should also be doing that as well. Whether it's his phone bill or something.
He wants to know how much the mortgage is,
right?
What the salary is, how much money we have in the bank. He's really, I mean, he watches the YouTube videos. So I think he's probably going to be a lot more financially savvy than me initially, you know, than I was, because I had to learn the hard way, you know, like you said, run up all this credit, they give you all this credit, you have all this credit, and then you have to pay.
Right.
So I think a lot more information is out there, and he is one of those kids that actually goes on YouTube, like, you know, YouTube, you want the information, go there, he'll watch the videos. So yeah, he's I have, but again, yes, you're right. Gotta suggest these things. I mean, he's working on the weekends, so I can't really tell him what to do with it. He already has a separate account that is a savings account that I got from him years ago. So all his birthday money, all that stuff goes in there. But this is his own account that he wanted so that he could take the card and go buy what, like, for example, today, matter of fact, he went and got him some shampoo and some conditioner, and I said that was too much money, because he bought some natural stuff because he likes the natural stuff, which I also do, but he liked all the natural stuff, and I think it was Shea something, and I'm like, that don't work for our hair. I mean, it's nice, it's a natural product. However, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You got to get something.
But it's nice that he wanted to spend his own money to get things that he needs.
I think that he just wanted to go and spend his own money and be able to use the card because he sees me doing it. I have several. And so I think that's what he wanted to have, that, you know. So he's like, I'm going to return it. And I'm like, okay. It's your money. I can't really tell you what to do with it because he's working. He's 16. I really didn't expect that. Yeah. But I guess some of the stuff that I'm saying or that I'm doing is rubbing, you know, you can't be too forceful with them either, because then they go and do stuff behind your back.
Yeah.
You have to pray a lot. I heard Miss Richards talk about that. You just gotta stay praying, especially with it, you know. They have access to so much information. It's too much information. We all do. But especially them, their minds are not mature yet.
I would say one thing though, to add to what Makeda said about dividing up the money. You know, my boys, they're actors, and I have a sophomore in college right now. And to this day, every penny they earn, they know that it's not yours to begin with. And if it wasn't for God and his blessings, you would never have any of it. So before they do anything, they have to take 10% out of that and they have to tithe it. I don't know what your beliefs are, but that's my belief. And so I have always—
We haven't been going to church, so we haven't been tithing. But when we use—
I have definitely, yeah. We tithe online because we don't go—
I would, even when he didn't have the money, I always taught him, this is what we do.
Yeah, and I'm so like proud of my older son. Because to this
Giving them
day,
that much money, yes, 10% of,
yeah, and it starts young because to this day, anytime he gets money in his hand, if he gets a paycheck, if he gets residuals, right, and that check comes in the mail, he's already deducting how much. Mom, can you drop this off in the tithes for me? Or he's we do it online because I do it online because we don't go into service, but that money always comes out. So, and they get blessed that way too. They learn to divide up their money. So I'm really glad, Makeda, that you spoke about that. Dividing it up to savings versus what you're going to spend versus what you're going to use to pay your bills, because that is life. And that is something we do need to train them, because we are raising young men, right? Yes. We're raising them to become men. We're not raising children. Because eventually their childhood, that's it. They're no longer kids. So you want them to be the man that you want to see them become. And so it starts at an early age. So I'm really glad that you touched on that, Makeda. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really,
and even with
great.
With the little ones with the Roblox, my new thing has been, I mean, I get that he wants to play Roblox, right? And he wants to get the skins and get the other things. So my thing is, you're not only going to buy fake money and make somebody else rich, right? I want you to have something tangible that you can see that this is what this got you, right? And that money that you're using is something that someone else worked for, right? So we're not going to just throw it down the drain and you're never going to see it again.
How it's always easy for them to get rid of your money. Use your money.
Right.
Spending your own money. Oh, I don't know. It's okay. I don't want it anymore. Don't worry about it.
It's funny because with both of my children, I think we're all guilty of giving our children what we didn't have. And we're real easy to just give them things because it was different for us. And when we were growing up, we had choice, or we were able to accept the answer because I said so. You ain't getting it. That's it. And we had no question about it. So like when my children were younger, I always told them, you will always have what you need and some of the things that you want. And I gave them chores. I made everything visual. Like if they didn't do the garbage, they got $0.25 for this or $1 for that, whatever. And they had to pay the tax of whatever it is that they wanted. And my mother used to say, oh, that's crazy. What are you doing? What are you doing? Now, for me, my daughter was 4 years ahead of herself in school. So I felt I had to rush and make her accountable or prepare her for the world. So I was like, no, our bedrooms became apartments. And we treated our apartments, and I said, okay, well, you didn't make up your room, you didn't clean your room, you didn't get paid, so you sleep in the hallway, or you go find somebody else's room. My mother was like,
I have to borrow that one, Annette.
One time I put my daughter's mattress, she was listening to her father. I put her mattress on the backyard in the summertime, and I said, well, that's called eviction, and that's what will happen. Let me tell you, my daughter's 29 and my son is 19. Both of them working very good jobs. They have great credit. My son will refuse to pay finance charges. He's like, I'm not paying interest. I'm not paying interest. No. He will sit there and put something on layaway before he'll pay interest. Or he say, I don't need it. And it's funny, like, to just see how the whole thing revolved, because no one taught us, or no one taught me about interest or interest finances and stuff like that. We didn't talk about those things. Things just happened. You get something in the mail and you're excited and you say, oh, money, and you just go out. So
money that you didn't have, you didn't earn.
Exactly, but no one told you about the interest and the finance. Right. But now having a credit card like that can cause so much damage, because it affects your library card. It affects whether you can get an apartment and stuff like that. And when my son turned 16 years old, I opened him a credit card. I kept the credit card and I paid the cell phone bill with it to establish his credit, because most of my friends are older than I am. So I get to learn from their mistakes, or I get to learn from their horror stories. So I was like, okay, so their kids get out of school, they're in debt from college. They can't even get a credit card, because once they get out of school, the debt for their school loan goes onto their credit. Not that it's bad, but it's that they owe too much. So I said, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up his credit card, get his credit points established so that, you know, when he becomes 20, 21, he, bless you, he can get an apartment, because now your credit score is affecting whether you can get an apartment or not. So when I told him what I was doing, he's like, Mom, why are you looking for me to get an apartment? I'm going to buy a house. I said, well, you go for it. But either way, you still need your credit report. And I think that's one of the things that we have to take the time to start educating our children about finances. In 5th grade, I think my son's school went through the whole thing, and they went through, oh, you want this car? They started looking at the value of the car and the interest and everything. And they just started educating them about money and where money comes from, and how, even to the point where how your education can affect how much money you make, your presentation, and the way that you carry yourself, whether you're nice to people, because they don't take those things into consideration. And now that we're in this age of everybody's being an entrepreneur, my son's friends, they actually have some of the things, like they have their own businesses that they own, but they're not getting the clients. And my son is like, well, why is everybody coming to me? And I said, because you have a personality. And that helps it, because you have a personality. You treat people for who they are. You don't judge them. And like, it's the way that we have to all learn that all of that makes it work for us. So, you know, it's good that we are starting younger to teach our children about finances. And now our children are like 9 and 10, they have their own businesses. When we were 9 and 10, I was playing with Barbie dolls and playing Skip It, you know?
Yeah, Skip It, I remember that.
Yeah, right?
What other quick
Yes, that was my thing. That was my
roller
thing.
skates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other quick suggestion is that you can also, if your credit is good and you're open to doing it, you can add your child, I forget from what age, as an authorized user onto your credit card.
16.
And so, right. So that's another option too, to help them to begin to establish credit, which is something that I'll definitely do for the boys as well. But I do like the idea of having their own card, and, you know, because I think that will only help to improve their score even more. So that's an awesome idea, but doesn't hurt to kind of approach it from a variety of directions as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
How old are your children, Makeda?
8 and 4.
Oh, they have a little while for the video games. Just one day they get bored with it usually.
Well,
I'm saying that to Liz, because Liz has maybe another year or so. They'll get bored with it.
I have a question.
We can't hear you.
Liz, you're muted.
I'm sorry. They're limited to the video games. They're only allowed to play Friday night and Saturday. So they take full advantage of what they can when they can. It doesn't work like that anymore, but they try. So
yeah.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So is it Makeda?
Makeda.
Makeda. I know you said something about relationship with money. So I'm kind of like the opposite, like my mom and myself, like, you know, holding on to money and scared to, like, because you said something about like a lack mentality with money. And I just wanted to hear more about that you were saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I realize it in my mom, right? And I realize that I have become this way as well, as I've worked really hard to pay off debt. But I think depending on your socioeconomic status when you were growing up and or what you saw around you, I think it definitely informs our relationship with a lot of things, right? Our relationship with food, our relationship with money, our relationship with emotions, with love, with how we give, right? And so I think that, you know, when you have a scarcity mindset, you're going to constantly have this fearful approach to the way that you deal with certain things. And I realized that I have that a bit, it's a number of areas of my life, but also money, right? And so because I didn't have it, because I knew my mom didn't have it, You know, I don't want to, you know, like I try to prevent him from going down the path that I did, but not in a healthy way, right? I chastise about, you know, don't spend your money, stop wasting your money. And so the messages that I realize I'm sending sometimes are all fearful messages. And it can be the building blocks of a very unhealthy relationship with money. And so I want to change that paradigm and to encourage him to have a healthy relationship with money, right? Money isn't bad, right? It doesn't have to be bad. It can be good, right? So I want him to make money, to purchase things, and for it to be a representation of something that he worked really hard for. And I've begun doing it more for myself, right? So I worked really, really hard for that job I told you all about. And when I got made it like through the first round, I bought myself an Apple TV for my bedroom, right? I had one in the living room, but I didn't have one in my bedroom. And a friend of mine mentioned to me, he was like, when you get this job, I want you to buy something for yourself and something that you can see, don't pay off a bill, because it's not as satisfying, right? Like if you're really, really thirsty, you know, you want something that's going to like replenish you, refresh you. And I want to have that same relationship with money. And so I bought something that I can see. And so every time I lay in my bed and I watch my ratchet 90-Day Fiance, I know that is from my hard work, even though psychologically, I know all of this is because of my hard work. I focused it on an item, right? And so I'm trying to do that with him as well, because otherwise I know that I'm going to repeat a cycle, and that's not what we want to do. We actually want to break a cycle. So I just encourage it or offer it as food for thought. You know, how do you feel about money? What's the language that you use around money and paying bills? What sort of impressions are you giving your children or those around you about money, right? Is it that we can have abundance, but we have to be responsible with it? Or is it that we have to be so fearful of the bad that happens when we don't do it right, instead of empowerment, right? I have the skills, I have the tools to do it right. And because of all the knowledge I have, because of how responsible I am, I have all of this, right? Like those are two very different ways of thinking about the exact same thing. And so that's just something that I offer and encourage us to do more. And I put myself in all of this because goodness knows I am a work in progress, but I do see the difference.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're
welcome.
All right, that's a really good note. Liz, pass it on over to you.
Liz, the mute.
Today is Liz being muted.
You see, right? I'm sorry. I'm
taking my place.
Asking. I said I'm gonna have to put on a little bit of Mary J. Blige, Doubt. What a great song for us as women to hear. But as I'm just closing out, I just want us to remember what we dwell on is who we become.
Yeah.
And of course that goes back to what Tameeka was saying, which is it just still resonates with me on what I'm doing. You know, I'm not the only one that went through that phase, but I want to say thanks to Miss Monica, Miss Makeda, and
wait, we did not
for continuing to pave the way
Makeda
for us women, as well as the other ladies on the call. So have a blessed day and have a blessed night, I should say, and stay inspired. Until that, cheers and toast to you ladies. Hopefully this will get you.
Don't forget to put your email. Don't forget to give us your email addresses so you can be on the
Thank you
newsletter.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, please don't forget to put your email in the chat group so we can send you the newsletter as well as the information for the spa. If you have not already.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Good night.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey, Nat.
Harder. I was doing 2 or 3 things at the same time.